Good morning, ma'am. We welcome you to Curious Times, yet another edition of Teachers' Day, and we're inviting you to join for our magazine, The Ed Leaders. And I welcome you and DPS International Ghaziabad for this event.
Thank you so much, Deepti. I'm glad to be here too.
Yes. So, ma'am, we're very happy how DPS is coming around with the Curious Times. We saw some wonderful participation during Innovative Young Citizens Challenge, and which is still going on, the evaluation process. And we found a lot of good, responses and submissions from the school. I must congratulate you and the parents and students for all the hard work that they have put in. That's my first sort of congratulations as we are doing the final evaluation trick.
Thank you. It's so heartening. I love my children, so it's really nice when someone from the outside also validates my good opinion of them. I do think that they're doing a fantastic job.
So, ma'am, now we want to understand your side of story. This year's Ed Leaders is about, the education leaders' journeys and their choices, their challenges, their pressures, and their learnings, and then how those learnings can be passed on to the next set of leaders, how we make the next set of leaders, how do we create a world which is fit for the children. And some of your personal journey experiences is what that will lead the rest of the people to. So what we're going to talk about is, ma'am, that when you thought you're going to be in the education as a profession, what were those, inspirations? How did this whole thing come around you? Like,
I don't know. I was always much into role play. So the earliest memories I have is of being a 5-year-old, dressing up in a sari, which my mother would tie around me, and having a blackboard of my own at home with a tiny duster, chalks, and I would line up my dolls over there, and I'd like to teach them. So I just never realized that that was an indication, because I don't think you have much of self-knowledge when you're growing up. You just do what you like to. I was much into enactments even in school, so I thought that maybe it's just another one of it. But I think I really realized my calling when I was in college, because I remember that, and that's a bit of a digression, but it's important. I remember I had a lecturer who was a gold medalist, and the juniors approached me that we just can't understand what she says. So that got me thinking that a gold medalist from her university is not able to get through to 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. So I was just a year older than them. And when they'd approach me for resolving of their difficulties, I really enjoyed doing it. And that made me start thinking about it. And that's how I just kind of came into this profession. But I've never looked back. I just enjoyed it so much.
okay.
You motivate others, you facilitate learning, and you like to share your knowledge. That's what I felt.
Right. So I think the realization in terms of how you were able to handle and how teaching came handy in terms of how explaining that to children and making it simpler for them. That's like something that you thought were, I think that's a good thought, because there are very many people who do sort of, get very good grades, but when it comes to teaching, it's more than just knowing yourself. It's how easily you can put it across to the person, to the next person.
That's right. Your academic brilliance doesn't make you a good teacher.
Right.
To be a good teacher also, I really don't want to make things simpler for children. Rather, I would like to facilitate them onto their own journey. So for me, it's more about giving autonomy to my children. So that is, you kind of empower them and you guide them, but then you want them to take it on themselves. So that's what facilitating learning is all about to me. And that's why I realized very early that you needn't be brilliant academically. You got to have the knack and the skill to translate it to the others. That's it.
Right, 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 right. So, ma'am, help us now, like, understand that your so many years of work experience, what are the real challenges that you faced in order to, from the days when you actually realized that you were going to be a teacher to now, what are those challenges which kept you moving and how you kind of, navigated your way through those challenges?
Initially they were more behavioral, like getting the children motivated enough to want to do it themselves, because those who lag behind may not be motivated enough. It used to be that behavioral issue, or it would be where parents weren't that involved in the growth of their child. That would also bother me at times, but I never took them as challenges. It's just that something comes with the job, so it comes with the job. But COVID-19 has been a very big challenge, because we had to just change our dynamics overnight. So one day we were in school and the next day it was a lockdown. So it got us thinking that how do we surmount this? Because children cannot be deprived of education. And what will happen to them sitting like that? Because it could have been a very endless kind of a thing. And we were so unprepared for COVID last year.
Right.
So within 3 days, we converted to absolute online mode of teaching. So earlier we were blended learning. We would use flipped classrooms. We used technology a lot to aid us and all that. But full blown, whole soul online classes, that was not something that we had done. We enjoyed our interactions in the class, and so did the children. We found them helpful too. So transacting classes on the online mode was something of a challenge. Moreover, we wanted the children and the parents as well as the teachers, to get their mind off the alarming stories that were around. The news was full of it. It was like a horror story. Moreover, it had begun hitting our own families. We had cases in our own families. People were falling sick, and we had losses as well, losses of lives. So we had to keep them, can I say, grounded, and also not to let them go into depression. All of us, I myself. Therefore, we had to bring up a program which had counseling, which had physical outlets as also. We began our mornings with yoga and aerobics. So we saw to it that the children were participating with us. You'll be surprised, sometimes the family members also used to join in. So we wanted to get over all this anxiety. And that was something like, fitness, creative outlets, whether it was art, music, dance, counseling, guidance and counseling program. All this went on, and we kept ourselves engaged and constructively occupied. So that was a big challenge. But when I see the positive feedback from the students and parents, when I see the excellent CBSE board result of my school, with my class 10 child being a joint country topper, I feel that it was all worth it. So that's a challenge which I'm going to use as the past tense. I think we have got over it. So as they say, that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. That's what DPSG International did. Students, parents, teachers, they're all heroes to me.
Great. That's like, those are great things. I mean, um, COVID definitely was a big challenge for everyone. And actually, last year we did a magazine called The Leap, and we were not in touch with you at that time. But I think I congratulated each and every, school principals, directors, and teachers. Uh, Personally, we run corporates, right? And we, like, somebody says I have 10,000 employees, I have 5,000 employees. I would imagine that a principal, education leader sitting at home has to manage 5,000 remote resources, because she has teachers, she has students, and then there are parents also at home, and there are all the support staff who used to be sort of coming to school, or everybody's at home. So including the principals or of the institutions, they were managing 4-5 thousand people remotely. So it's definitely, I think it's by far the most complicated year, where the learning has had to be like top notch, faster, hockey stick learning, and at the same time the issues were also equally hard. So yes, definitely congratulations.
5,000, I hope I didn't interrupt you, sorry.
No.
But 5,000, it was actually much more than that. We were organizing competitions also so that other children across the globe would join in, and you could bring a little joy into their lives. So we had, now we've begun an annual event called Fitomania, because we are a Fit India school as well. So we organized a number of online competitions on fitness.
Right.
And people as old as 60 years also joined in, and there were 6-year-olds to 60-year-olds over there. And for one particular competition, we had 5,900 entries. So I would say that we were touching a great number of people. We touched so many lives. And that was one good thing of the online engagement. That time zones didn't matter, geographical zones didn't matter. We were in touch with so many people. We could reach out to so many. I'd really love to have a look at the leap, because I think it is a giant leap for whole of mankind, to borrow
Yes,
from
yes, yes,
Armstrong.
yes. So, ma'am, coming to now, maybe how the challenges of 21st century are different. Maybe you've seen the career over last 25-30 years, how things have moved so much. So, help us sort of, they help us, give us some advice for all the inspiring leaders in the education space. Like, what while they could have looked at things differently at some other stage, but what's your sort of advice and inspiration to them? What should they be focusing on? How should they plan things out for themselves?
I think there are some great people out there, and I wouldn't really dare to advise people. But let me tell you my own take on it. I think the dynamics have changed, and once physical school starts, we have just started it a little bit, though the response is not all that good. But once we are into real time 100% physical school, we'll have to make a paradigm shift into our way of transacting the curriculum. In fact, last year, my organization, we are a group of schools, a chain of schools, we came out with a curriculum design 2020, in which we gave a lot of importance to the foundational domains of, visual arts, performing arts, sports, being a good citizen, setting your own goals, being a part of a club, reaching out to the community, character building. All these things were very, very important. And soon after that, the NEP 2020 also came in, and that kind of ratified our emphasis on the development of skills and competencies. So my advice would be, whatever my advice is worth, that we must do things to implement research. There should be an inquiry-based learning. There should be project-based learning. We should have collaborative tasks between the stakeholders. Therefore, we'll also have to look at the way we have been conducting assessments and what is the real purpose of assessments. So, the government has also started via CBSE and other state boards emphasizing on vocational skills. I think we'll have to have a look at that, because India has so many graduates and postgraduates, so many doctorates, but how many of them have got the skills to live life? I think we must have a look at it, all of us.
Right, right. So from an educator's perspective, right, while the whole ecosystem needs to build that for the young students and all, educators, what do they need to do? So they've been doing things and conditioned to do things in certain manner for many years, right? Now how do you sort of bring that change in educators? What is that need? And it could be like, from your perspective, it could be something to do with their own institutes, or to do with them as individuals, or government to step in, or to any other bodies or private bodies to step in. But what is that required from, for them to transition to this thing? Because the thing is, like, we can bring great curriculums, we can bring great content, we can also sort of agree on, like, these are the things which are definitely required, but the people who have to actually execute and run this are the teachers, who have to do the intervention and let that happen. What is your thought? What do we need to do about that?
If we talk about a recipe for this success, which we aim for, it has to be a smattering of all the things that you mentioned, whether the government, whether it's the leaders, whether it's the teachers taking it forward themselves, whether it is changing the mindset of parents and trying to get them to understand that there are other options also in careers besides the traditional paths that have been trodden so far. Education is not the same. There was a time when it was said that spare the rod and spoil the child, and we've been through that.
Mm.
When I was in school, it was considered that a correct teacher, an effective teacher, is a stern teacher. Today, teacher is much more approachable because the role has now changed from the teacher-centric classes to the student-centric classes. So here you wish for the children to have hands-on learning, experiential learning. You want them to have a say in what they do. Today, before introducing a topic, I would take 5 minutes to let the child know why that particular item, content is important for the child to know.
Yes.
I don't think it would have happened long back. I mean, the way the British education used to be, that the study of classics was very important. Latin and Greek had to be learned, and it was a very strict kind of a curriculum.
Right.
Rote learning is no longer needed. It's not required at all, because we don't want facts. We believe in rich content, yes, but we believe in an approach that makes the child create something at the end.
Right.
So facts would be more about remembering, but remembering is not so important. At the click of a button, all information is available on the computer.
Totally.
Understanding it, analyzing it, interpreting it, and then creating something out of it is what is important. I think we are more receptive, and I think we have changed over the years. The kind of teacher training that is going on, I can see that is making a difference. So it'll have to begin with the school's vision. The school's vision will need to be aligned with the country's vision, the global vision. And once the visions are aligned, then we need to just get it done. When my father used to write his answers, and he was a brilliant student, some of his professors would meet him in the corridor, passing by, they would say, Mathur, your answer sheets didn't weigh enough. So they wanted more. They wanted lengthier answers, because lengthier answers showed your brilliance. Now we talk brevity, we talk about clarity. It is a 2-minute generation, isn't it? Whether it's 2-minute noodles, it's instant coffee.
Right. No, definitely.
That mindset will have to be made, and one person can't do it. So the smattering of success is all the people that you mentioned have to contribute, and I can see it happening. Things are changing.
Right. Great. Ma'am, so now, without taking too much time, your final comments and your final love and blessings for children, what do you have to say to the 21st century kids on Curious Times, in your school, around you?
To the children, I would say you're doing a great job. Treat your time in the school as discovery, self-discovery, because by the time you step into university, you would have to make some career choices. some stream choices, subject choices. All these choices will depend in your understanding who you are. Your teachers are providing you so much of avenue to develop in what used to be called the co-curriculars, but are very much a part of your development. So discover yourselves and don't worry about a career. The sun shines down equally on everyone. So you will find your true calling. Do not select a subject or a stream because you visualize yourself as a particular doctor or an engineer. Take it because it interests you and enjoy your journey in school. I can truly tell you that school and college days are a memory of a lifetime. So my blessings to everyone. And I think that as educationists, we must also treat ourselves as facilitators. We should touch these lives and hearts of the children, and we should steer them to their path of self-discovery. So thank you, Deepti.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for taking out your time during a day which is really busy for you. And from Curious Times, we wish you, your faculty and colleagues, everybody a very, very happy Teachers' Day. We wish you a lot of success, good health, and happiness to all your team members and to you.
Thank you so much. And I'll tell you who my favorite child is in close. And my favorite child is Curiosity's child, and that is Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
The child one craves for, the curious and curiouser, as she says.
Yeah.
And the quotes by Alice really make my day. I feel that's what each child should be. That's a wonderful name you selected. And here's to curiosity.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. We'll stay in touch with your team for everything else and how we're going to celebrate it with your teachers and your students. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Insightful questions have been, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am.